And when I moved to Eretz Yisrael about a decade ago, one of the greatest challenges that I had was trying to bring what we call evidence-based medicine, protocols and treatment understandings based on the research of tens of thousands of patients over decades, bringing what works to the community. Because what I found was so many Rebbes who decided that they were therapists and knew better than I did. And they did about the Welt, but they did not about the clinical application of the science. And I began to start hearing about an individual who was in Chinuch and then decided he would go to get a degree. And there was a fancy story about Rav Shach walking him to the door and telling him to get the best degree possible in order to help Klal Yisrael. And it sounded very grandiose, and I said, oh no, yet another Rebbe, yet another Mahanech who decided he's going to save Klal Yisrael as a therapist. And it didn't sound like a money-making scheme, it sounded like a cult. And I was very, very nervous. And then I met a person one day who I found to be so humble. Humble because he knew at least as much as all of the famous professors that I'd studied under. In fact, we'd studied under many of the same professors, Bessel van der Kolk, and a number of the other experts in trauma and in family systems and attachment. And as opposed to finding a cult, what I found was everything that I was looking for. I was looking for a mahalach of approaching the frum community in situations where there were young men and women who were struggling with having been traumatized, struggling with addiction, struggling with mental health issues, and finding, again, a system that would be palatable, a mahalach for engaging families and youngsters with culturally sensitive, culturally appropriate care, evidence-based medicine that was built for the frum Welt. And so when I met this very humble man, I found that it wasn't a cult. Rather, it was everything that I was looking for. And it's such a zechus to be here, Dafka Kesher Nafshi, where this is mamish, not a cult. Rather, I will say that Kesher Nafshi is the most important public health initiative in our community.